Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel, the class where we treat English language topics. Today, we want to consider clause versus phrase. We want to make comparison and see the distinguish between the two. So let's get going and see what it is. Clause. A clause can be a group of words, or you call it multi-words, which includes a subject and a finite verb. That is, in the group of words called clause, is a must. We have a subject and also a verb. And the subject in this case can be hidden and it can be mentioned depending on the speaker or the writer. But the verb must be apparent and distinguishable. That is, the verb there must be seen. In no way can the verb be hidden because that is the backbone of any English sentence. So let's look at an example of what we are talking about. Clause. I graduated last year. That is a complete sentence. We have subject there, we have a verb there, and we have uh, another noun with an adjective. With an adverb. So this makes it a complete sentence. This is what is called a clause. Now let's go further. We want to look at types of a clause that we have available. We have only two. The first one is independent or main clause, while the other is subordinate or dependent clause. We are looking at independent clause first. This is a group of words with a subject and a verb that can act and stand on its own to make a complete thought. This means that the group of words called main or independent clause can stand on its own without depending on any other type of clause to make a complete thought or to make a meaningful sentence. That is what we are talking about. So two main clauses can be joined by coordinators like but, and, or, so, nor, and some other words, some other coordinators. Let's take a look at the two examples that we have below. Number one, I want to buy a phone. That is a complete sentence, and that consists only of one clause. It's a complete sentence. So number two, we have two clauses, two main clauses precisely joined in sentence number two. The first one is, I want to buy a phone, as we have it in sentence number one. Then we have the introduction of coordinator, which is but. You can see that's why I didn't underline it. And the second clause, which is main clause that we have there, is I don't have enough money. You can simply say that I don't have enough money. That is a complete sentence. So the first main clause and the second main clause, we have them joined together with the coordinator but. I hope this is clear. Now let's proceed to dependent clause. Dependent clause is a group of words with a subject and a verb, which cannot stand on its own without depending on a main clause to make a complete thought. Remember, they have something similar in this case. In main or independent clause, it has a verb and a subject. So also we have it in dependent clause. But what differentiates the two is that Dependent clause cannot stand and act on its own, but it has to depend on another type of clause, which is independent or main clause. And the reason why this cannot stand on its own is because of what is known as subordinators, like relative clause, like subordinating conjunctions, and also noun clause markers. These are the words that connect dependent clauses to main clauses. Let's look at the examples that we have below. Sentence number 1. He is a good player, though he is out of form. He is a good player. That is a main clause or independent clause. That can stand on its own and be meaningful. But we have another one that is joined with the main clause. That is the one underlined. Though he is out of form. That is the dependent clause or subordinate clause in the sentence. But when we remove though, that subordinating conjunction, if we remove it from there, we will have he is out of form, and that is a complete sentence on its own. But the introduction of though, that is what makes it what? It gives or paves way for looking for an attachment in order to connect it with the main verb that comes previously. I hope this is clear. Now the second sentence, when I was eating, I saw the man. Wow, there is an omission of N there. When I was eating, I saw the man. That is the whole sentence. So I saw the man in that sentence is a complete sentence, which means it is what? A main clause or an independent clause. Where we have when I was eating to be subordinate clause or dependent clause in that sentence. So we have the two, and those that I underlined, they are the one that we are looking at in this on this particular page, which is under dependent clause. That is why I underlined them. So I hope this is clear. Now let's go forward to see what next we have. Now this is a phrase. We have looked at clause and the type of clauses that we have. Now we have phrase. Phrase is a group of words which has no finite verb in it and acts to complete the sentence for making it meaningful. It only forms a part of a sentence. When you look at phrase and clause now, you see that they are totally different. In clause, we have a subject and a verb. We have those that can stand on their own and be meaningful, and those that depend on another type to make a complete thought. But here in a phrase, it cannot be meaningful because it has no finite verb and also cannot make a complete sense. That is it. So phrase only forms part of a sentence. Look at the examples that we have below. You can see the ellipses, meaning we have some set of words before what I wrote in number 1. We have to swing the bat. That is what? A phrase. We don't know what happens before swinging the bat. That is what is called a phrase. Number 2, we have ellipses as well. Our departure. What happens to our departure? We don't know. That is what is called a phrase. Number 3, we have on the sofa. Then we have ellipses, which means something must complete this phrase to make a sentence. And the last one, we have the probability of scoring in that match. We have ellipsis. Something must complete it before it can be meaningful. So this is what a phrase is. I hope this is understood. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel